I'll give you a 1-minute warning when
For a
it's
time.
time.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to record it every. Okay, I'm with Templo Santo Community Church, and I'm gonna give you a little history. Community Church, Templo Santo has been around for 23 years in the community. So we're very familiar with what is needed in the community, especially in the area of A Street, and Rossi, that's where we were for more than 20 years. Then we moved to East 18. We've been there for 2 years, so we know exactly how, the need exactly in the community. That was a community that, for years, it's been like, I was not gonna say neglected, but it's been like a lot of drugs, a lot of bad activities doing in that area. And we had the opportunity to, when I got there, I've been involved in Templo Santo for about 10 years. And I saw the vision that they have. It was like the leader of pastors over there, George Navarrete, our senior pastor. And he was engaged with the community. And I love what he was doing. He was like, for Thanksgiving, he was feeding those less fortunate people, giving a basket of goods to so they can have a dinner. And also for Christmas, giving to the kids that they don't have any toys, giving them stuff. So that was beautiful. And I had young kids at that time, so they had activities like we were just hearing here about like hackathons, doing soccer tournaments. They were doing a lot of activities to keep those young people busy, doing healthy stuff under supervision, and that's what we've been doing since. And now that we have a bigger facility, we see the need of having a sports center, and that's the vision. That's what it's been in our heart since I've been there, and it's probably since the pastor started pastoring in the area. And knowing that community, that we see that is lacking of after school program that we were just hearing in the meeting here, and that's exactly what is in our plan, to have after school program. And one-to-one, that's another thing that is in our heart. And most of the work that we've been doing in the church is a big facility that we have now. We have a lot of talented people there that they know all the skills, everything, you name it, all the trades. And that's basically one of the things that we need to implement, to have a one-on-one training. Because not everybody wants to go to school. Mm-hmm. But we also have plans to do that after school program, like tutoring. Like if, especially in math and science that most of the kids struggle with, and we have professionals there. We have people that work, they are currently working doing that, so they're willing to help us on doing that and achieving our goals. And the after school program that we want to do over there, we have an indoor-outdoor soccer. But the mayor mentioned not everybody likes sports, but we also want to have a gym inside. It's a huge facility that God blessed us with that. So we have the opportunity to implement what we're talking about. And we have also a space to do arcade. We already have it. We've been using it every Friday. We have the youth community going over there. They have fun. They enjoy it. But, we haven't been moving the way we would love to move. Because, like in a big property like that, it's a lot of expenses. And so we really wanted to open up the youth center last summer, but we still stuck with working on it, but we're moving very slowly, not the way we would like to, because but we're still working. That doesn't stop us of doing what we're doing. We have a lot of young kids and like middle schools. We have a lot of them that we're working with them, and I'm a coach myself, so that's gonna be what we're planning to do, is create an environment, safe environment, that everybody can feel safe under supervision and with professionals. Like we have a lot of coaches, people that like to train, work with kids. That's in our heart, and that's what we're doing and we want to do. We want to do in a big dimension. We partnership with charter schools that are in the area. If you see this city now, it's completely different now. You can go past by there. That was a building that was abandoned for many, many months. And then we knew exactly that's what God wanted us over there, to make a difference in that area. Because, nobody was buying, nobody was purchasing that building. We got there with very little money. God gave us that building. And that was a confirmation that God wanted Templo Santo there to make a difference in the community, to help out. And now that I see this opportunity, to partnership with the city, that's awesome. One of the things that I saw in my senior pastor is that he always said this slogan: if we have a healthy family, if we invest in the new generation, we're gonna have a safe community. If we look at 20 years from now, we invest in one-on-one, and he strongly believes in that. And not only him working on it, it's the whole congregation that we have the same vision, that we are helping, supporting. And that's basically what we think that the city needs. The city needs a safe place, so all these young people can go there under, supervision and teaching, ways to live, to prepare them for life. Like you say, if we teach them skills, those can go and get a better job. If they don't want to go to school, but they have a trade, they can make good money and have a decent life. So that way, we can have a better community. People want to come to the city, gonna have businesses. And that's basically that's the goal of Templo Santo in East 18. And that's your house. So whenever you want to come and visit and see what we're doing, and I really believe that this is gonna be, soon you're gonna see the grand opening instead of the sports center, community center, and where the doors are gonna be open for everybody.
And for those who don't know the location, it's the old Extreme Fitness. So on 18th, there used to be a big gym. It was purchased by Templo Santo. They're taking basically half that space and turning it into indoor soccer, indoor basketball in that community.
Yeah, so. And I have pictures, but I don't know if I can show them here so they can visualize it here.
We'll get to the pictures. Okay. We're gonna go to Pastor Smith now. We're gonna go to Pastor Smith in about 5 minutes, and then I'll give you the 1 minute 1 minute warning.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kirkland Smith. I'm the pastor of Grace Bible Fellowship of Antioch. We've been in this community since 1995, when there's really no color here and very color here. Now we got enough, so we're gonna work with what we got. We've been involved. Our church was founded here in 03. I want to thank Mayor Wright and Councilman Thorpe and Ron Burnell for being here today, or inviting us here. Just really quickly, I'm standing in the stead of our youth pastor, Osa Igabor, who wasn't able to be here. So I just want to kind of give a quick snippet. I agree with all of what he was talking about. Our church we have a new nonprofit that's being started called Grace Arms, and the picture of it is a tree with arms on it, and a lot of the different arms of programs, from after-school programs to tutoring programs, summer camp programs, food and clothing programs, homeless shelter housing programs, and a lot of those programs, the vast majority of those programs we're already running now. We have a Grace House for homeless people. We have a free food and clothing pantry, which opens up this Saturday. The church sports programs, on and on, mentor programs, on and on. But I really wanted to talk about just a couple of ideas. I thought that the collaboration of the faith-based, not so much Grace, but the churches at large and nonprofits could partner together in doing to try to meet the needs of some of the kids. Just want to run down a couple of them. One is an event we called it Brother Be Loose. It was an event with the hub was a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. We used to be on Sunset by Ace Hardware. Our address was 913 Sunset, so we gave away $913 for the first prize. With that basketball tournament, we also included a dominoes tournament, a spades tournament, a pool tournament, ping pong tournament. There was free food, and we would draw a couple hundred men. This was a men's event. I'm seeing us now doing it as a youth-sponsored event. Obviously, the $913 may be a little much for y'all's budget, but some type of dollar figure that draw the kids. Now, there's also was a Madden tournament. So you had kids or grown folk, when we did the Brother Be Loose, you had grown folks signing up for those events. So you could be in more than one event. So you had kids or grown folk that were playing dominoes, and they may be waiting for their next basketball game. So that we called it Brother Be Loose. I could see it being called Be Loose. I could see it being hosted downtown at the Rivertown, that Rivertown area, where you can get a couple portable basketball courts, and then you could have adequate space to put tables for the video games. We own a game truck. We're in the game truck business, so you could do the Madden tournaments and all those kind of tournaments out of that. So I gave you all a proposal, but the Be Loose tournament is something I think that would connect with kids and you could run that. That would be, I saw it as a one-day event where you could even hand out information about, good health and have, some workshop classes that would be available as well. We own a restaurant downtown, so we do have some space that's available to accommodate some of the needs that event would have. Another event we proposed was the summer basketball tournament, which we've run here for the last 15 years. It's for the kids in our community, and there have been thousands of kids, a lot of kids that never could make a team. They can't make the freshman or JV teams, and it's boys and girls, and we've been running that here out of the center of the gym here, and then using local gyms, whether it be Deer Valley or Cornerstone Christian, and that normally has kids from 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a men's division and divisions in between. That's been very successful. We run that every summer since probably 2004 or 5, and that allows every kid in this community that wants to play. And I think they charge $5 for a June tournament, July tournament, August tournament, uniforms practice. And that is an engaging event that's gone very well over the years. Another event we proposed, and with all these events, I've given them budgets of what it would look like and what it would entail and what the expected turnout of youth would be. And depending on the event, it's anywhere from 100 to maybe 500, 600 kids over the course of a weekend, or like that basketball tournament would be a 3-month project. Another event we looked at was painting and poetry, and that would be an event that could be hosted here. And how we envisioned it was you had kids with an opportunity to utilize their gifts, whether they be musical talents, words of wisdom, or poetry, taking part in a positive environment. Also could hire a trained painting instructor that could help kids creating some drawings where they can go home with something of substance, and at the same time be engaged by not only utilizing their gifts, but allowing other people's gifts to be demonstrated in front of them, and walking out with maybe some different ideas about not just art, but appreciation for different people's skills and talents. And then the last event we saw, there are many things we could do, but I just wanted to give you a few ideas of what I think the collaborated effort of the the faith-based community could do for our kids. Is a carnival we've hosted over the last really 20 plus years at our old church as well. We call it the Holy Eve Community Carnival. And it's a carnival that, has rides and games and food and pony rides and whatever they call them, cars, bumper cars, and on and on and on, and giving the youth in our community an opportunity to make this a community event. We've done it before. I know years ago we did it at the, we did it at the mall, but we did it at the fairgrounds. And it was the largest hosted event in our community, a one-day event in our community, but that was a collaborative effort. There were probably 8, 9 churches that partnered with us to pull off that event. So that event we've been hosting that on our church grounds the last few years, and it's just a phenomenal event to have young folk engaged and involved. So there are a lot of other things that I think we can do as a collaborative group, but there are a lot of things we're already doing that is just having a tremendous impact on young folk. And I think if we can just sit down and put our heads and minds together, I think we can find some really positive things to do in the community. Excuse me, I gotta go. I've got to get to work. And I got a restaurant that just opened, and I got to get to work. But
Alan's not running today?
Huh?
Come on.
Stop playing. But I do. I have one of our youth leaders here, Diego Bo, and Chandra Wallace is one of our. She does a lot of our plays and skits. And they can stand in my stead and answer any questions. But thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
And I really hope we can do something positive.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. So who's ever coming up, you got 2 seconds to get there. 1, 2. Dr. Francies.
First of all, I want to say it's still morning. Good morning to everyone out here. Please forgive me. I'm recovering from a cold, so if I sound funny, don't make fun of me. It's good to be here. I'm the senior pastor of the Delta Bay Church of Christ, located 913 Sunset Drive in the city of Antioch. I've been the pastor there for the past 12 years in this city. Also, you guys, some of you guys may know me from Antioch Unified School District, where I served under Mr. James as as a counselor in that district, and currently I'm the Dean of Students at Mount Diablo High School in the city of Concord. There are a number of things that I want to talk about, and I think that, I can, well, let me do a brief commercial for the church because everybody is putting the plug. We've done just about everything. We do clothing giveaways, after school tutoring. We have mentoring groups for boys and girls. Friday Night Live. We have a number of things. We are bringing young people off the streets on Fridays and giving them a safe place to be. And also we contracted and brought in services for parent mentors as well. But beyond that, I think we need to just use this time, the small moments I do have, just to kind of talk about some underlying issues. And as you guys know, I'm a different bird, so just stay with me. For the last 10 years, we know just from studies that African American youth are twice as likely to attend after-school programs than white youth. In the city of Antioch, currently African Americans comprise close to 17 to 18% of the city's population. But when we look at the number of incidences of young people after school that are getting into trouble from 2:30 to about 5:30, knowing this is a bedroom community, it's disproportionately that those people are African American youth. Now I know this. We work with young people. Ms. James knows when I was in this city, we knew it was an issue because this is a bedroom community, and a lot of our parents are out working in the East Bay, and they're working hard, and they're coming home, and these after-school hours are crucial because our kids are running the streets. Now, oftentimes, I would have to walk kids home, make sure that there are no fights down at the park, right? We did a lot of different things, and so we partnered, and I talked to Dr. Wright to talk about some of the ways that we can prevent that from happening. A lot of this disproportionality, let's go back to the school. Blacks make up about 25% of the population, the school population in the city of Antioch. But they are underrepresented when it comes to certified teachers in the classroom, which is a huge disadvantage. They're also underrepresented in administration as well. And so as a result, a lot of our youth are struggling. They're struggling. And so what we're seeing is a number of faith-based institutions and a lot of nonprofits. They do a lot of what I call black charity, clothing giveaways. We give away school supplies. We do that. And I had to start looking at myself and say, what can we do that is different with the monies that is coming in? So I'm going from black charity to black empowerment. We need more than jobs. 58% of the youth in America, black youth, are unemployed. Why? Because we own no businesses. We don't want jobs. We want wealth. We want power and resources. So with the monies that are coming in, what some of the needs I see in this community is that we need business training, more than just scholarships to colleges, because a lot of times a lot of blacks go to college and we think that's the end, and then they can't find jobs because they are facing discrimination out in the work world, okay? And then they leave with a disproportionate amount of debt and are unable to go ahead and feed their families. So what we need more than just college scholarships or basketball tournaments or football tournaments, we know how we do in those areas. We need reading intervention specialists to come in and teach at the elementary school levels, and we know it's no secret Antioch Unified is struggling with their elementary schools, and especially African Americans are finished at the bottom, especially black boys. So with that, we need intervention specialists to come in and teach literacy skills. But those contractors, and that's what I agree with Johnny before he left, should be vetted by people in the local community. We don't need any other colonizers coming into our city teaching us, trying to teach our kids how to read and being ineffective. So these programs need to be culturally efficient, culturally effective, and if not, we need to get them out. Also, with the monies that come in, We need cooking classes, healthy cooking classes. A lot of our young people in this city live in food deserts where all they have are fast food restaurants, and not only that, they have liquor stores that are not owned by their own people that they can get jobs in. So they need home ec classes. In these business classes that they can have, they need to be able to know how to file their own taxes. They need to understand how to put together a business model, business plan. They need to understand how to get their own checkbook. They need to understand life, true life skills that does not require them begging other people for jobs.
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. We also know that 70% of black youth at black homes are headed by women. And so instead of just going ahead and putting a Band-Aid on the problem and saying we're going to let the after schools try to become your surrogate parent, let's deal with the root. And we're talking about the economic castration of African American men. Let's empower those men. Let's deal with the school to prison pipeline so that we can have fathers in the home. Let me just say this before I say this. The black church is very crucial. $14 million a Sunday goes to the black church. $14 million, which makes it, if you look at it like a business, the most profitable, most trusted business in the United States. The black church, $14 million goes to the black church alone. So we have to, and we know education came, historically, first came out of religious institutions. And in 1865, the literacy rate for slaves were 90%. By the turn of the century, it was shrunken down to 40%. And a lot of that came from black churches being able to educate their own. So what we need to do is use these funds wisely to empower people, not just charity, not just basketball tournament, not just football. We've done that. We've seen it. It doesn't work. What we need is empowerment. And let's start with the churches. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thought I was at your church. Get up. All right. I'm sorry.
Joslyn.
Joslyn from
Yes.
Fellowship Church.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Joslyn Perez. I am the youth director at Fellowship Church. We are on Lone Tree. We're under Pastor Sean and Diana Nepstad. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for allowing us this opportunity to come and speak on behalf of youth. And my goodness, I wish I could have been taking notes while my pastor to the left right here was speaking. I think that I 100% support as a Filipino Hispanic young woman. I totally, and I see we work with students. We have about 400 to 500 coming out every week. We see the need in our African American young people. And I believe in what we've kind of been, if I can just kind of really kind of get behind what my pastor was saying here too, is that we, especially with our mentors and our youth leaders, we've been really starting this kind of journey of learning how to listen to our African American students, our mentors and our leaders in the church. How can we become better listeners to our students of minority? And this is kind of where I want to talk about what my opinions are. I totally appreciate all of the after-school programs and the basketball tournaments. We have done that, you know. We have partnered with Victory Outreach, Homeless Outreach. We have a homeless outreach happening every single week, we see the positive impact. But we also see where the absolute empowerment is lacking, but with our minority students, obviously including African American. Where we're located on Lone Tree is we get a lot of foot traffic. I studied in Portland, Oregon, where the youth homeless population is just through the roof. It's more than almost any other city on the West Coast. And so when I moved back here to work for my church, I really saw the absolute desolation that is here in my hometown of the homeless youth population. And so with our location, we get a lot of those young people who are outside of the house. They're living on the streets, most of them living behind our building, most of them living behind Staples. And this is where I have seen the most need and almost the draw and the glamour of leaving your home or maybe even getting kicked out. This is a lot of the stories, right, that we hear from our young people. And our building really we try our best to have an open door policy almost every single week. We have groups of young people coming and taking showers in our bathrooms, and we're giving them packed lunches and packing their backpacks with food. When we ask them, do you know of any, houses or halfway homes or what have you, most of them have no education in that area. And so what I'm seeing is that there's a need for knowledge and education in this area, where there are young people that are on the streets, they don't know what their options are. And so, and I think a lot of the time too, our students are in the same group, right? They're in high school, maybe they're living with their parents, but they don't know what their options are. They don't have the knowledge. There are no educational programs that are kind of really in your face. I worked in Antioch and in Deer Valley as well, and so I work very closely with Deer Valley High School. And so we're really trying to get those empowering programs really out in the open and into parents' hands as well. And so our parents obviously know what is at their fingertips as well. I really want to take this moment too to just listen and learn. I definitely have not been in ministry as long as my brothers to the left of me, and so I'm very humbled to be here, and I'm going to be taking notes and probably asking a few of you guys to meet with me through the week, because I'm very, very, very passionate to learn what our students need as well. I'm not up here thinking that I know everything that we need. I just know that we need help, and we're here to do whatever we can.
Thank you. And so with that, we'll open it up to some question and answers. And what we'll do is we'll go down. You'll ask a question, I'll ask a question. I'll allow the audience to ask a question, then we'll go back around and rotate. So if you have several questions, just ask one question, but it'll come back to us, so that it's fair for everybody in the public gets a chance to ask a question. So we're not taking necessarily public comment from the audience. We're asking questions so that the response that come out of them informs our budget process for the city. Okay? Okay.
So the question I have is the students that you have that you're serving after school, where are they going? I mean, where are they going? And how do we fill that need?
Well, they're not going home. Again, with where our location is at, just, yards away from Deer Valley High School, we see all of the foot traffic. And a lot of those students are hanging out at Walmart, they're hanging out at our church, because it's just open, it's available, They're hanging out probably down at Golden Hills, they're hanging out at Target, at Starbucks, like these open public areas, not doing homework. They are looking for a place where they can relax, they can have fun. When they come to our building, we always put them to work, and so, or we have, classrooms, children's classrooms and stuff like that. But I think that how we can get kids into after school programs is, I think kids are looking for some sort of affirmation, and I think that maybe what a lot of these programs are doing is not giving that. A place where they can feel safe, accepted, affirmed, validated, and empowered. I think that knowledge obviously is power, but I think just what they're not getting from their home, they're trying to find it somewhere else. And so I know that that's definitely where I was at when I was that age. So, yeah.
So, in my years in working with Antioch Unified and dealing with all our babies right after school, we saw that they're not going home. But why do I go home? Nobody's there. These are latchkey kids. Parents are working somewhere, right? They're out there working, right? And the myth is that, majority of blacks in this city is sitting up on government assistance, and the majority of the blacks in Antioch are homeowners. And they're working, right? So they have nowhere else to go. And they're looking around. They said, there's no programs here. There's nothing here, okay? And because they have the highest unemployment rate, you're going to see some turn into a life of crime just to get the things that they need, okay? okay? Because nobody will hire them in mass numbers, okay? So as a result, these things are happening now. What do we do? Please don't get me wrong when I love basketball. I played it. It's a wonderful sport. I love football, okay? But here's it. How many of them are going to go to the NFL? What's the percentage of them that are going to go to the NBA? 1%. Okay? We're pushing that. And the only time we celebrate our men of color is when what? They got a ball in their hand. And wondering why they don't want to do their their schoolwork. Right. So what we have to do is get literacy programs. We have high school seniors that can't write paragraphs. Right. It's the truth. Write a statement about what you did. Can you write it for me? You are in the 10th grade. They can't read, write, or comprehend. The test scores don't lie, right? So we need reading interventions programs, not when they're in high school. We need it when they're first, second, and third grade. We need it at the primary school level, but we, as the community, have to be able to choose the contractors. Because I can tell you in the first 5 seconds, it ain't gonna work with our babies. Because that's not gonna work. We need something that is real, and that's huge. And then as they get older, they need to understand business models, business plans. The sports will come. If they want to do that, let's do that later. We need empowerment programs that are done for us and by us. Now, I'll say this. Marcus Garvey said one of the biggest weapons against the Negro is disorganization. We need organizations. And we need to come together. We need to be able to collaborate. What I said about the black church is true. $14 million go to the black church, right? But the reason why millennials are rejecting the black church, I'm going to tell you why. We went from agitation to accommodation. We're not about anything. So what we have to do is say, hey, look, we're more than just pastors' appreciation and basketball and fun activities. We're about empowerment. That's going to bring the men back to the pews. Because they have to be able to provide for their children. That's going to bring the man back to the home and keep him in the home with that family, and that's going to affect the school.
All right. So, did you want to add anything?
I wanted to ask.
Before you go, just because people want to ask questions. If you could,
Yeah, I understand
limit it to
point of view,
yes.
but I also know that sports. And this is our plan. This is our goal. That.
Right. So before we get off track, the question was, what are your youth doing after school? Where are they going? And the reason we need to know that is because we're trying to identify needs.
Yes,
so I understand everything everybody's saying. We need to identify needs.
Yeah. So what I was saying that's basically to fulfill that need is like get a one-on-one with him, with a young guy to, for me, influence, tell him, hey, this is what you need to succeed. Get it close to him, like one-on-one. That's basically what it is. The sport is basically what they want to use it for, to get close to him and supervise him, so that way he's not on the streets.
Okay. So my question I think is fairly simple. It just requires a simple response. If you can tell me how many youth your church serves, and then of that, how much do you invest in youth services through your church? Youth fellowship, you said you guys serve about 400 youth.
Yeah, 400, 450. And those are just the ones that are coming on a weekday. That's not all that are coming on a Sunday. We have about 5,000, a little over 5,000 each weekend. And so we try our best to capture as many students and invest in dollars or invest in, is that what you're asking?
Right. Is there staffing associated with these 400? Is it that you leave the facility open and that costs money too?
Right. Right. So yes, it's myself and an assistant that is staffed for students. And I mean, our monthly budget is about $3,000 each month to invest in student services, fundraisers, programs, stuff like that.
So about $36,000 a year for youth programs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then.
So, we are currently serving K-12 close to anywhere between 60 and 70 young people at our congregation right now. About maybe 10% of what we bring in goes to our young people and activities and services at this.
10% of your operating budget?
Yeah. That's kind of.
Now, for us, we're serving, I want to say around 300 roughly. As far as the budget, you know, we do a lot of fundraising too. So for our people who work with our youth, they're not actually on salary. You know, it's all volunteer. You know, we just want to pour into them. One of our biggest things is, you know, one thing we realize is kids don't know they don't care what you know.
Does
until
the
they know
church
what
have a
you
dedicated staff person for you?
No, not.
So you being
not
here,
on
you're
our
not
budget.
getting paid, you're
I
volunteering
don't
your
get
time?
paid, no.
Okay.
But we do things like we do different activities. We do we take them different places. You know, we use money in that asset, which roughly just I know for the youth, for the high school portion, we're roughly about I want to say 8,000.
Eight, okay. And before you answer, Pastor Hernandez, just so is it fair to say that your youth is the composition of your youth is Antioch, Oakley, Pittsburgh? They're coming from different places?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we the same as their church. All we do, nobody gets paid there. We volunteer. So we basically do that, but we invest a lot of the faithful tithers that they, tithe, and we invest in the kingdom. That's what we believe. We invest in the kids and the family.
And so how many youth are you serving?
We're serving about, I would say about 70 between the ages of 12 and up to the mature youth.
Mhm.
We serve about 100 of middle and elementary school. More
Okay.
than 100.
So are there any questions? So I see 2 questions. We'll start with you and then we'll go down to you.
So I'm understanding that you guys are here trying to vie for some of the funding from
I'm gonna-
correct? Is that
I'm going to stop right there, just so,
That's what
just,
I'm
I'm going to
asking,
clarify.
so I can make sure I ask the right
Right, so
question.
that is not the case.
okay?
We're doing a needs assessment. How money is divvied up overall for this city is done through the budget process, and that's the process we're in right now. I'm using this as an example. It may not happen. I'm just throwing this out there just so that we're all clear on what is happening here. So we could leave this process and say, you know what, we should give $10,000 to a youth services pot and let people bid for that. And that could be the recommendation. Obviously, that's an extreme example. That's not going to happen. But that is what we're doing. So we're not giving anybody any money through this process. We're not deciding anything through this process other than taking the information we're collecting, sharing it with our colleagues during the budget process, and then coming up with recommendations for our staff and the city manager. Are we all clear? Because I don't want anyone leaving saying that this committee is giving out money. That's not what we're doing. Your question.
So as we talk about the division with everything, my question for you guys is what are you guys doing to work more closely with the schools to help with some of the ties that you guys are getting to help kind of fund some of the things that the schools need since they're definitely underfunded? How could you guys work more closely with that to help kids in that way? And then it kind of helps bring people into your congregation. So what are you guys doing to kind of bridge that gap?
So we have campus clubs, is what we call them, to kind of build that bridge between school and church, where we have a student that wants to start a Christian club, and we fund that club with tons of pizza every single week. And it really is like a bridge. I love that you used that word, because we assign an intern, 2 interns from our church, to go and be pizza delivery people, basically. And that intern really is to connect with that teacher and say, hey, what do you need? And build relationship with the administration, office, and what do you need? Every 3 times a year, we do something called Serve Week, where we go into our community all day, excuse me. Tons of teams are going out doing just practical outreach things, and that's something that we're really, working with schools is something we really want to, we really want to work closer with those Serve serve days. And so, but that they kind of all funnel through campus clubs. So we're bridging that gap, bridging that thing every single week.
So our congregation has a rich history of working in the schools, because obviously the pastor is employed by Antioch Unified School District. So in the past, we have hosted baccalaureates, standing enrollment, 400, 500 people. We also partner with some local elementary schools to do, we give away school supplies. We've done that in several schools here, and also do some mentoring after school, because we know the funds are low. But let me just say this: the money's there. It just has to be allocated right. And I just want to make sure that that fallacy is not out there, because there are certain people that are getting paid, but when it comes to the churches, as always, can you volunteer, my brother? It's like, wait a minute. There are funds that are there. There are LCAP. They get tens of millions of dollars that go to protected groups of students. And the thing about it is, a lot of times they don't necessarily make it to the students that are being affected by educational policies. And we don't say anything. We don't do anything. So they say, we don't have any money. Can you volunteer? And we come and we do so. But at the same time, you know, the people that come and volunteer, they have full-time jobs. They work. They try to do the best they can. So the money is there. And we're not talking about this fund. We're talking about LCAP funds. It just has to be appropriated the right way.
Now, what we do is, we just had a meeting last Wednesday. We were talking about kind of what you was talking about, actually, you know, with starting a program at the schools. So right now we're in contact with Deer Valley and Heritage. We're trying to get some things going right now so that, you know, we could come, you know, starting off once a month, come up there, we'll feed in them, we'll just, you know, spending time with the kids, just pouring into them, just want to, you know, see what they're going through. How can we help? What can we do for you? And that's where we're at right now. So.
And we have, every year, we have a back to school program. We do a fair in our facility. That's what we do. And we donate backpacks, all type of material. And whatever, you know, we don't donate it to the families that come there with their kids. It goes to the schools, it goes to the donations.
Okay.
That's what we do to help out.
Did you have a question before I go to?
Okay, I have a two-part question to the panel, and one to you, Pastor Francis. All your ideas are notable and worth endeavoring, but what, in your opinion, from each of you, is the number one draw to bring children, youth, to these programs? What is your number one opinion of what's going to bring these children? And second, Chief Dr. Francis, in this day and age, we hear all the statistics about, you know, African Americans.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave some great information, but do you think it's advantageous to just be exclusive? Do you think we, with just African Americans, do we disregard our Hispanic sisters and brothers? And contrary to popular belief, that some white Americans or youth. I mean, I worked on the SARB committee for Antioch.
I think we got the question.
Okay.
We got the question.
So,
Before you start, you'll go last. You start first. And the question is very simple. One priority, right? Just one.
So the question was, what draws students?
you're number one.
That is a really good question. Thank you very much.
Can I just say, be it symposium, food, sports programs, what opinion do you think will draw?
Well, I mean, we've, you know, never underestimate, you know, a cash prize. So, you know,
Okay.
we give away a lot of food. And it's something a priority too with our campus clubs as well. It's because a lot of our students aren't eating at home. And so,
Cash prize and food. You've
Yes,
gone
very-
twice.
yeah.
Grace Bible, you're going last.
So for us, it's also food, but not just food. It's they got to know we care. So we pour into it. Okay. You know, let them know that, you know, no matter what you're doing, you can call me in the middle of the day or night. and I'm there.
As a community that don't know you, what is the number one draw that you think? Food? Yeah.
I believe that it's being well known that sports bring communities together, and that's why our focus is like for us is sports, because that's what it brings every kid, and that's why we have gonna have basketball, like they mentioned ping pong, gonna have all that because kids that fit in sports, and that's I
Okay.
think that's what it will draw.
I'm thinking about all the kids who are not
Yeah, well-
sports inclined.
Yeah,
We've got incentives,
Okay.
Yeah.
care, and sports.
Yeah.
Dr. Francis, you're number one, and then if you can address her
Yes.
comment and it fairly quickly, please.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll try to do that. Relationships. I think that is the most important thing. I've seen programs in the past that have had huge budgets and they are empty because the people that are running the programs have not built quality relationships with the students. They want to be shepherds but don't want to smell like sheep. Good shepherds always smell like sheep though. They get down in there, they go to those schools, they're in the hallways, that's what they're at the homes, they're knocking on doors. They're not just saying, here, we have this program, why aren't the kids coming? There is no relationship, and you have to have cultural competency. Now, to answer your question, and I know this is a complicated one, okay, why just black? Black folks are distinguished people, exceptional people. What I mean by that, we're the only group in this country that was considered 3/5 of a person. We're the only group in this country that are not immigrants. We are the only group in this country that were denied humanity. We belong in a protected class, just like the Native Americans, and I'm unapologetic, and I'll say it till I die, right? Black folks are unlike anybody else, and all of the gains that we fought for in the civil rights movement, everybody else have profited off our gains, right? So we have to start looking. This is why scholars are now re-looking at the multicultural movement, because it makes black invisible. You have to put black at the forefront. Dr. Claude Anderson once said this: racism is not about anything personal, it's a team sport. And if you don't play as a team, you lose by default. I'm not mad at any other race of people when they come together and they have their own communities and they run the economics of their own. I'm not mad. I don't expect when I go to any other restaurant by any other ethnic group that they're going to hire our youth. We give them our money, they don't hire our youth, and they don't respect us because why? After the Civil War, blacks we own less than 1% of America's wealth. 2019, that fact is still the same. We have no wealth. So therefore, we have to go ahead and say, look, I'm not hating on anybody. I'm a pastor. I love all people of all different races because we know race is a social construct. But at the same time, we also have to say, what can we do? If we don't do anything for our kids, nobody else will.
Oh,
and so
okay.
Everybody, I'm just saying this, because
Okay.
right now things will get drowned out, okay? If you do not keep the emphasis on your folks. So I'm unapologetic with that because I recognize we are in a specific class unlike anybody else. So hopefully I didn't.
Okay. No, that's fine. Okay, did you have a question? No more questions. I did have a question. Hold up.
There's one more back there.
I know. I just had a question about.
Who wants to turn?
Go.
So, Pastor Francis, just real quick, just to make it clear, so you only serve African American youth?
No. Oh, that's an excellent question. So we serve whoever walks through those doors. But Dr. King once said this. He said Sunday.
You answered the question.
Okay, I just,
You
yes or
answered the
no?
question.
Yes or no? That's all.
You answered the question.
No.
It's good.
We got people who all different
I
races.
just, yes or no? That's all.
He serves everybody.
Yeah, we serve
And I
everybody.
presume the rest of our panel, your church
Oh, they
serves
serve
everybody.
Anybody that walks through the door.
And
Yes, definitely.
just so that you know, Antioch is like no place other in that we're a very integrated community. Everybody lives in our neighborhoods. We've got a growing Chinese population, a growing Middle Eastern population. We've got a growing population of everybody, and everybody is welcome in our community. But to what Dr. Francis is, there is a theory that says if you focus on the most disadvantaged, by de facto you focus on everybody. Right. And so by focusing on those who are doing the worst, frankly, you focus on everybody. But it's also disingenuous for those of us who are new to the community to suggest that things have only existed this way shortly. There have been people who have been living in poverty and in unequitable conditions for decades since deindustrialization here on the waterfront. And so it's unfair to just say, just as one particular group. There's been people with needs for, and I see Councilmember Tiscarino here, he's been here forever and a day, so he can attest to that. People have been living in our community for generations in need. And new populations have come in with more need, but new populations have also, the majority of black people live on this side of town, and this is one of the wealthiest sides of the county, and in East County in particular. So it's complex. It's not just easy to make generalizations. You really have to understand the community and really break down what's happening throughout the community. So with that, if there are no more questions, myself and...
So I noticed that a lot of people spoke about working with kids that are showing signs of trouble or
Yes.
showing signs that they're going in a bad path. But the kids that get forgotten are the kids whose parents do work, who may not be in need, who may not be in trouble yet, and they're just stuck there, and there's nowhere or nobody for them. So what are you guys proposing to do for those kids who aren't in trouble, who aren't doing bad things, whose parents aren't necessarily struggling, but those kids are still struggling with trying to figure out how not to go in that direction? So what are you doing to attract those kids?
And and so we had some other panels, and we touched on that. So I know you came in for this panel.
No, I just came in because.
Oh, good. Well, great.
You'll hear from me later.
No, and
Fantastic.
we've been talking
so we've been
about
talking
that.
about that. Yes, there are people who are not necessarily poor, but who have people who have need. And so I think that's a good question for the panelists, and we'll maybe leave that as the last question so we can.
I think quickly just it's mentorship, because a kid that is stuck is not going to get unstuck by you just preaching or teaching at them. There needs to be relationship that is built to unstuck that kid, to give him options, to give him mentorship, to give him influence. And that's really where we focus on, is building that relationship. We have hundreds of small groups, hundreds of freedom groups as well, getting kids and our young people. I mean, they're gender and grade specific, some of them. So those that are targeted to youth, getting them even talking about their mental health. Some students aren't on drugs or in gangs, but they're dealing with, severe depression or any kind of mental illness. So our opinion and what we really believe in is that mentorship and relationships really unstick that child.
Real quickly, I think that's an excellent question. And briefly, we are, as educators, as administrators in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, we always have to deal with that question, because most of our time goes to what we call Tier 3 students that are usually in our office. We know their names, their parents' names, middle names, and social security number. We know everything about the kids because they're always, but then there's always a student that is not a frequent flyer, that's getting D's and F's, but they're not a behavior problem, and they're falling through the cracks, right? So how do we identify those individuals? And one of the things that I did when I was in the Antioch Unified School District, we did honor roll celebrations. We had it for a targeted audience because we looked at the ones that were at the bottom, was African American. But here's what I found. There were students that I know their names. They were 4.0 students. They lived in the Sycamore, right? Their parents, they were high poverty. They didn't have anything. And I would have never knew those students' names because they couldn't throw a ball. They couldn't run fast, right? They fell through the cracks. Nobody. And so what we did is we put together ceremonies to celebrate them, or if they were struggling, what we did is I did a weekly, I have a weekly thing right now in Mount Diablo where I just meet with all students that are struggling, irregardless of their behavior. And what we do is we do a weekend check-in and check-out. We check in, check out. And do you not know just that accountability, right? Because observed behaviors change behavior. Just that accountability alone changed their fortune, because they said, somebody actually cares. What do I have to do? I got to cuss the teacher out to get attention? What do I have to do to get somebody to notice me? And so a lot of times these kids are crying out for help. They're crying for help on social media. These kids are longing for belonging. They're longing for community. So what we did was we just identified them. We just did searches on Aries, all the kids that had certain D's or F's. We did that, and we just put the net in, and we met with the kids 2 or 3 minutes a week, and it changed the fortunes of those students. And then we were able to meet with the parents, and the parents were very appreciative. So I totally agree with you. I think a lot of them we miss an opportunity on a lot of those what we call tier 2 and tier 1 students.
Thank you. Grace Bible?
So one thing we do is we don't just focus merely on the at-risk kids. We focus on all of them. And now for our kids who are, let's say doing better in school, they got things going on, the family, what we do with them is we push them. We push them more. Now we push them, okay, well, what kind of leadership skills do you have? How can you help someone else? We push them to get the better out of themselves. We want to know, how can you be the best you? So if you're at risk, if you're not, it don't matter. We want to get the best out of you. So that's the thing with us. It's all about relationships. We want to build up your confidence, your self-esteem, and we want to set little goals because we want you to succeed in life.
David, did you have anything?
Yeah, and they just nailed it. I think, relationship is what we focus on. And with our youth leader, that's exactly what they do one-on-one. And we just had a lesson about the community. So, each other, they help each other, and they get close to each other and get to know what the other guy is struggling with. And, that's why we have the leadership over there to, to take care of it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. A round of applause to our panel, and then we will break for lunch, and then our next panel starts at 12:45. So that's good, right on time.
Panel entail.
So that panel is gangs and community violence. It's going to have 2 of our police officers from APD. They're specifically from the gang unit. And then we're going to have the assistant district attorney for juveniles here. Her name is Laura Delahunt. I'm sorry. And she oversees truancy and whatnot. So she will talk about some of the prosecutions of youth in Antioch out at the county level. And the police will talk about some of the demographics around the gangs in the community. And I think one of the shocking things that I learned earlier this year was that most of the gang members in our community are between the ages of 14 and 19 years old. And so that's something, that's part of assessing the needs.
And they're recruiting much younger.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. All right, thank you.